Hi, welcome to the ARC. This is a presentation on writing narratives. What is the purpose of narratives? So, you may or may not have written a narrative essay in your life. If you have, you might have thought, what am I writing? Just a story? And if you haven't written one, you might be looking at this slideshow and think, well, I have no idea how to do this, so please tell me. A narrative essay is actually in some ways very simple to write, and in other ways one of the more challenging types of essays to write. Ever since we have been small children, we have all grown up telling stories to our family members, our friends, to our teachers, our classmates, just about how our day went or what happened when we were out playing or what we did when we went to the beach or the movies. These types of simple stories are the basis for the types of skills that we already have that we could use in a narrative essay. To put it simply, the purpose of narrative essay writing is to tell a story. So if your professor has given you this assignment, you're going to say a beginning, a middle, and an end with certain characters and a certain type of result and mood throughout the story. The mood is an important part. You need to express some sort of emotion, positive, negative, maybe a mixed feeling. And finally, a narrative essay is going to portray your point of view, often in a personal meaning or perspective or lesson, something that you learned or that you would like to teach others if they are reading your essay. So a narrative is presenting information that will affect the audience more indirectly, but hopefully more powerfully than just a persuasive or argumentative essay might be able to. So what makes narratives different from other types of papers? First of all, a narrative is not an impersonal, logical, citation-based, or otherwise presenting information from other people's point of view. It is extremely personal, and it's often written in first person. So this type of essay, while still formal academic writing, in some ways feels a little bit more casual because you are writing strictly from your own perspective. You're not having to put in citations or quote other people. You're quoting yourself, basically, your own thoughts, your own ideas, and your own experiences. And you're not specifically trying to make an argument to convince your reader or prove anything using many scientific studies or other academic literary authors' work, etc., etc. So you're using your own experiences to show something, to illustrate something. You can think of it as maybe one of the more creative or artistic types of papers. Narratives are not typical academic papers, but your professor might still ask you to have a thesis for your paper. If your professor is requiring this, definitely put it in. And even if your professor hasn't said anything about it, we still recommend that you put it in. The thesis should state the reason you are telling this story. It needs to give the reader a sense of why they are about to read this paper and what difference will it make to them. Because this is your paper with your story, your thesis statement is actually one of the more personal and exciting things you could ever write for school. Tell the person who's reading your paper why this paper is so important to you and why it can be important to them too. So how can I structure a narrative? When you begin brainstorming and doing the rough draft of your narrative essay, make sure that you know a few things as you go in. First, what is your main idea? Or another way to put it is, what story are you actually going to be telling? Is it something about yourself? Is it something about your family, a friend? What time period in your life are you referring back to? Is this something from your childhood? Something that happened when you were in high school, or something that maybe happened last week? And that will also determine what characters you put in, what setting, what place and time that you're going to be talking about. So once you have those details kind of planned out in your mind or on paper, then you can begin to structure it in the essay format. So usually introducing what your paper is about would happen in the introduction. But depending on how much information you want to share, you can start in the introduction and then continue to add more new ideas or characters into the body paragraphs. It's really up to you and the depth or complexity of your story that you're wanting to give. You will also want to add details. So because this is a story and you're not focusing on the facts given by a scientific paper or someone else's opinions as quoted from a book, you need to think back through your memories and add the sensory details, the smells, the sounds, maybe some taste or color, the descriptions of the people that were in the story with you, the feelings that you had, the sights that you saw, the weird things that happened, the funny things, the sad things, all of these details that make stories suspenseful or moving, romantic, scary, exciting. These details need to somehow come through in your writing. So painting a picture for your audience or writing a movie scene in your mind for your audience will make your paper really fun to read as well as informative. So our final suggestion for writing narratives is just to be creative. You have the floor. This is your chance to tell everyone exactly what you think and to express the things that maybe are difficult to talk about in person or to write about in a more academic, factual, logic-based type of essay. So you can be as descriptive as you want. It's important to be honest, though. So if you choose to write about something, don't just write about how you're so great or how everyone is so mean to you with only that side presented. You need to make sure that you are allowing for the nuance or the shades of gray that come in between, like the polar opposite ideas. So the honesty, the nuance, the accuracy of what happened to you. Most situations that we find ourselves in are very complicated, and so it's actually more powerful to talk about a complicated situation in which some bad things and some good things happen to you, rather than saying only bad things or only good things. It's more real. It's more realistic that way, and because you're able to present your expression and your perspective, but then also take into account other people's reactions and perspectives in your writing, it actually becomes more persuasive to the reader as well. And then finally, to know your audience, to know who's going to be reading this, and to know what you personally are comfortable to share, for example, with your professor, with your classmates and peer reviewers. It's really important that you keep your boundaries in a way that when you're sharing something, it's something that you feel ready to share. It's one thing to write in your own journal or diary or talk to a therapist or counselor and say all of your deepest, darkest secrets, and another one to write something for class and then be like, oh no, someone's reading this. I didn't plan on that. So it's a very basic suggestion, but just make sure that whatever you're talking about in your paper is something that you feel comfortable with sharing publicly. But in the end, a narrative essay is your chance to express something that maybe you've never expressed before. So part of creativity is bravery. Pluck up your courage and talk about something that's real, that may be a little bit scary to write about, but that would also be really powerful and beautiful for other people to know. So let's look at this example. I'll just read it really fast, and then I'll talk about some of the concepts that are in this paragraph and how it relates to the suggestions that we've already been given. Learning something new can be a scary experience. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do was learn how to swim. I was always afraid of the water, but I decided that swimming was an important skill that I should learn. I also thought it would be good exercise and help me to become physically stronger. What I didn't realize was that learning to swim would also make me a more confident person. This example looks like it's from the introduction paragraph of someone's narrative about learning how to swim. How I know this is because it's introducing a subject, especially introducing the emotion at the beginning, scary experience, and it's making it relatable to the people who are reading it. So talking about something that's scary, something that's hard, learning how to do something new. It gives the reasons for the authors wanting to learn how to swim, and then the final sentence gives basically the thesis. Learning to swim would also make me a more confident person. And so this tells me what the essay is about, and then I'm very curious as a reader to keep on going and find out. So what was the author afraid of? How did learning how to swim build up that confidence? And then what results did this person see in their life afterwards? Like, oh, I'm a more confident person because I learned how to swim. I want to know what small details the author has found that proves that. So let's do some workshop activities together about narratives just to help prime the pump. Begin starting our engines for a kind of narrative essay activity that you might have been assigned by your professor. So let's go to the tab that says Narratives Activity Sheet. And then the instructions say you will have 5 minutes for both of these pictures to write a story about anything that comes to mind. So this is a chance for us to just slow down for 5 minutes and just write anything that we want. So this is called free association writing. And basically what you do is as you look at the picture, you just write whatever comes to mind in your head. Any thought, any feeling, just write it down. No one is going to look at this except for you. So you can even just say things like, I don't know what to write. This seems stupid, but I guess it makes me think of, oh, the time that I went hiking with my family. And then just let your thoughts continue to go straight from your brain into your hand through your pen or pencil or keyboard. So pause the video and take 5 minutes. What I would do is probably set a timer for 5 minutes on your phone or your computer and then just write about this picture. So pause your video. Okay, good job. So go down to number 2, picture of the galaxy. We're going to do the same thing for 5 minutes for you to write about whatever you would like that comes to mind. So pause your video for 5 minutes. Okay, very good job. Now you can go back and look at the words that you wrote for each of the pictures, and you can decide what kind of feelings or ideas or stories that came to your mind that you would like to write about for your narrative essay for your class. Thank you, and if you have any problems or issues writing your essay, feel free to come to the ARC Writing Center. We would love to help you.